You have found a Mexican engineer who wants to come up and work at your factory in the United States. Because they have a baccalaureate engineering degree, they qualify for a TN visa, right? Well, I wish it was that easy. Sarah Wingard here. I am a U.S. immigration attorney. I work at Wingard Law and also Three Amigos Recruiting. Now, Wingard Law handles all types of business immigration work into the United States, and our sister company, Three Amigos Recruiting, recruits Mexican engineers and scientific technicians to work up in the U.S. on TN visas. So we get this question an awful lot. Now, back to the question at hand. Does a Mexican engineer with a baccalaureate degree automatically qualify for a TN visa? Unfortunately not. The degree part is part of the equation, but the job that the worker is going to engage in, the actual duties, in the U.S. must also qualify for a TN visa. It's not enough if you've chosen a worker who has that engineering degree that's listed in the NAFTA regulations or the TN regulations. Now, I was just in Mexico City at a TN conference with kind of the heavy hitters of TN visas and people like the consular general for the Mexico City embassy, as well as the DOL liaison for Mexico City. So that's the boss of the U.S. consulate in Mexico City and the highest DOL representative in Mexico, both of which are a big deal. And they both made it really clear that this issue is going to get a lot of attention in 2024 for TN visas. The U.S. government is going to be cracking down on employers and workers who are using the TN visa program in a way that really was not intended under the NAFTA or US CMA regulations. It's not enough that a worker meets the specific qualifications for that specific type of TN visa. So in our example, a baccalaureate in engineering. The U.S. government is also going to increasingly scrutinize the job duties that the worker will be engaging in when they enter the U.S. for work. So the U.S. government is going to make sure that those duties are duties that the U.S. government considers typical or appropriate for that profession. So the question then becomes, how do you figure out what duties the U.S. government will allow for each profession? So we're talking engineering here. I do have good news. Fortunately, the U.S. government has two different publications, the first of which, the Occupational Outlook Handbook, and another resource is called ONET, and both of which are easily available online. Basically, these resources give information about the nature of work, working conditions, training and education, earnings, and job outlook for hundreds of different occupations in the United States. So, for example, we're talking engineering. If you Google OOH for electrical engineers, and then when you get on their website, you click on the tab of what they do, and then it breaks down the actual job duties. So in our example, let's take electrical engineering. Let's look it up. Electrical engineers design, develop, test, and supervise the manufacturing of electrical equipment. And then it goes into a lot more detail on those job duties. So basically, in order to qualify for a TN, you want to make sure that your job duties are aligned with what the government thinks an electrical engineer should be doing. So make sure that the employer letter that gets presented to the U.S. government when you apply for the TN visa focuses on this section. They highlight all the ways in which your engineering job aligns with those job duties found in the Occupational Outlook Handbook, or ONET. ONET is the second guide that we use routinely as we're preparing the TN packets. We often refer to both of these publications when we're drafting the employer's letter. So there you have it. Even if a job title is listed in the TN regulations and a particular worker meets the qualifications for that specific type of TN job, it's also really, really important that the job duties also meet the threshold required by the U.S. government for a TN visa. So my advice is focus on the OOH handbook and ONET. Highlight how your specific job duties align with the duties the U.S. government considers appropriate for the job and a TN visa. So there you have it. Sarah Wingard from Wingard Law and Three Amigos Recruiting, legally recruiting to save you. We will put a link down in the show notes. If you'd like a free consultation with one of our immigration attorneys, please utilize that link. Alternatively, if you have a need for recruiting some TN workers, we have an office down in Guanajuato, Mexico, lovely Guanajuato. Please feel free to use the link to schedule free consultation with one of those recruiters below. Thanks so much.